least giving it a like, and I will see you guys later. Bye.
Welcome, and thanks for calling the RN Hawaii YouTube hotline. In a few words, tell us what you're calling about. You can say things like, my stream won't start, or how did you do that thing with your webcam? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Press 0 to reach an operator who can assist you.
This Christmas is going to be unlike any other. The reason I wanted to surprise my daughters with a new home, especially this close to the holidays, is that it gives them the sense of belonging. We started with this idea of, can we move in before Christmas? Veterans United kind of took it and ran with it. I just had a couple people to talk to, and they did everything else behind the scenes.
Well, Jeffrey doing this surprise is very Jeffrey. Jeffrey was never a child that would ask permission to do anything. He always had it in his mind what he wanted to do, and he would act upon it.
And really what I wanted to do was get him in this idea of I'm buying a boat because somebody's selling it.
What do you guys think it is?
I don't know. It's not a person. It's not a house.
It's gonna be fun. Have you been in a boat like this before?
No.
I gotta get the paperwork. I forgot to get the paperwork.
Yeah.
Out in my shed.
Alright, so now it's time to go through some early settings in OBS Studio. So I like to use the bottom right button and click Settings, and then we'll start in this first General tab. You can choose your theme. I like dark mode. And for these first two checkboxes, show confirmation dialog when streaming starts and when streaming stops, I highly recommend that you check these. I think they're unchecked when you first install, but that just gives you a confirmation dialog before you go live. The last thing anyone wants to do is go live without realizing it. You can also do show confirmation dialog when stopping recording. So if you're going to do recordings and you don't want to accidentally stop your recording early, this is a good one. Now, if you want to record your streams on your local drive while you're streaming, you could consider checking the box for automatically record when streaming, so that when you click that start streaming button, it also begins to record. All you would need to do if you wanted to do it manually was just click start streaming and then also click start recording. All the other settings in this general tab should be good to go in the beginning, so let's move on. The stream tab is where you connect the streaming platform that you want to stream to, and we'll go over that in a later video. Now the output tab is where you're going to set up your settings for the quality of your stream and the quality of your recording. And it probably defaults to this simple mode, but I'm going to say let's go in and select advanced, and we'll do our work in here. Now, when you first come in here, you will be in the streaming tab, and the first thing we want to check is which encoder we're using. Now there's software encoding and hardware encoding. Software encoding uses your CPU on your computer, but that's being shared with a lot of other programs and processes, right? So we want to use our hardware encoder if we have a video card, graphics card. To check for that, just go ahead and click into the drop down and see if you have other options. There are different names for software encoding that's CPU based. Now for me, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, and so that's what I would select to ensure that I'm using my graphics hardware rather than my processor for all of this. Now I don't recommend that you rescale output in this menu. I'll show you in another menu where to decide the final size of your stream or file. Now all these other settings down below we're going to cover in a future video about bit rates and streaming destinations. Let's click over to the recording tab next, and the first thing that you want to set is your recording path. Where do you want the videos to go on your system when you're done? Now the current path shows here, and if you want to change it, click Browse and choose a different folder. Now in recording format, there's a lot of different file formats that it will save to. For ease of use, I actually recommend just MP4, or if you're on a Mac, probably MOV. But if you want to learn about all the other file formats and what they do, I would say that's good research for you to engage with outside of this class. Now you have a couple ways of deciding how to encode the video, and that's going to affect file size and the quality and things like that. Now the default is to use the stream encoder. And basically what that means is if you go back to the streaming tab, it's going to use whichever encoder is selected here, and it's also going to use some of the other parameters that we set in the streaming tab. It's going to use those same settings. If you want your recordings to have other specific settings not related to the way that your stream gets encoded, then you would go in here, you would choose your encoder. Once again, software encoder, hardware encoder, I recommend hardware. And then you would set your own properties just like you would in the streaming tab here for recordings. But we'll dive into that stuff in a future video. The audio tab and replay buffer tabs should be fine as is. The audio tab is where you would bring in different sources of audio, which is also covered in a future video in this series. The video tab is where you choose your canvas resolution, which is the resolution that you're designing your scenes in within OBS, and then your output resolution, which is the final physical size of your video or stream. I personally